Hey yo guys, so today I just wanted to explain, what was it, bleeding? The new bleeding mechanic I added in. So if you go up to a dinosaur and you attack him, whoop, I can't even attack him, it's AI. It'll cause a bleeding and then it'll bleed for a couple seconds and then stop, over time doing damage. And then if you try to attack something, so right now I have 42 attack, right? And this Sword Poseidon has 1998 HP, max HP. If I try to attack it, it won't bleed because I don't have enough damage to make it bleed. Right now, bleeding only works if your damage is at least 5% of their max HP. So you can't make certain things bleed if you don't have enough damage. Also, every carnivore in the game, well, every dinosaur that eats meat has the bleeding effect by default. Certain herbivores have bleeding, like go away, like Triceratops, basically the trikes, and I forgot what that dinosaur's name was. This one. There is Dinosaur. I can't even say it. Sorry, I'm a little sick right now too. That's why I'm coughing here and there. And this one, basically anything with spikes or teeth or claws has the bleeding effect. So in this update also too, I lowered Spinosaurus's damage, but gave it 2 bleeding. So how bleeding works is every time you attack something, right, you add a bleeding stack, and then this bleeding stack lasts for about 10 seconds. So for AIs, so if I attack it twice, it has 2 bleeding stacks, 3 bleeding stacks, 4 bleeding stacks. And this, you could also count how many bleeding stacks you have off how much of these little blood particles spawns. So if you have a lot of blood particles spawning, that means you're bleeding a lot. But eventually the bleeding will stop. Every 10 seconds you lose a bleeding stack while you're, well, for AIs it's 10 seconds. I need to change it to 5. But for you, if you're in combat, the bleeding stacks don't disappear until after 10 seconds. So let's say someone attacks you 3 times, you'll have 3 bleeding stacks on you. If you wait 10 seconds, but you're still in combat, 1 bleeding stack will leave, another 10 seconds, 2 bleeding stacks will leave, and another 10 seconds, you'll have no more bleeding. Right? If you're out of combat, these stacks remove faster. I think it's every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, your bleeding stacks. So if you get away, if you happen to get away and you're still bleeding, your bleeding stacks will go away much faster. If you're resting or sleeping, it cuts the time in half. So let's say you're in combat and you're bleeding, but you're sleeping. The stacks will remove 5 seconds. And if you're not in combat and you're sleeping, the stacks will remove every 1 second. At the moment, bleeding it's kinda a work in progress, I guess. Like, I'm changing the stats here and there. Right now, I have it at, let me turn on paint. I already had it up. The formula for it, very simple formula. It's number of bleeding stacks divided by 400 times your max HP, right? So if you only have 1 bleeding stack on you, right? 1 bleeding stack times 400. I mean, yeah, not times your max HP. What I'm doing. That's how much damage you're taking every second. You're taking this much damage every second, right? And just for an example, okay, let's say my max HP is, I'll keep it simple, 1,000, right? So that means every second, right? 1 divided by 400 times 1,000. Brings out calculator. Can't do this in my head. 1 divided by 400 times 1,000. That means every second, I think I scaled down, so every second it does 2 damage, right? And then what I said earlier, right? Stacks last every 10 seconds, let's say you're in combat. So over time, 2 times 10, this will do 20 damage in all. But when you're in a fight, you get hit multiple times, right? So let's say you got hit 10 times. Well, the max 10 times, because you can only stack 10 times in a 1v1. Because then the cooldown for attacking is 1 second. And stacks, bleeding stacks get removed every 1 second. But times 1,000. That's 1 out of 40. Okay, my math skills. 1 out of 40. Don't worry, I got a calculator. I'm cheap. Times 1,000. That's 25. So every second you'd take 25 damage. That should be times 1,000. Oops, my bad. 10. And then you'll take 250 and bleed damage. But that's how bleeding works, basically. So if you're still in combat, it's just like that little extra bleed. That little extra damage that comes out from getting hit too much. Attack this Triceratops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now it should have 6 bleed stacks on it, and right now it's dying of blood loss, and eventually it'll die. The reason why I added this is to add in that little bit of realism. It's not really that game changing, I guess. Like, most dinosaurs will kill their prey by either crushing them with their teeth or making them bleed out. So even if dinosaurs were to, like, let's say a Tyrannosaurus versus a Spinosaurus, right? Even if the Spinosaurus won, there's a chance that it will eventually die out because it's bleeding too much. But that's how dinosaurs work. That's how it works. You die from bleeding if you bleed too much. That's why here and there you need to rest. You need to watch how many times they hit you and avoid going in all in fight if you're taking too much damage. This also gives since it does HP damage, so basically it's number of bleeding stacks over 400 times max HP. Things like Thor Poseidon, you have a chance of killing it since it has so much HP. It does HP damage. I don't know if I explained this good, but sorry, I'm sick too. This basically explains what bleeding does and how the bleeding stacks work. So every hit applies a bleeding stack, which is number of bleeding stack. A bleeding stack will do how many bleeding stacks over 400 times max HP in damage, and this damage happens every 1 second. And bleeding stacks are removed every 10 seconds, or 5 seconds, or 2 seconds, or 1 second, depending what situation you are in. So this adds another challenge, like watch out for your HP, watch out, make sure you're not stacking, make sure you're not bleeding too much, and make sure, basically, don't get killed. You could go all in and kill someone, but then there's a chance that you will die afterwards too, from the blood loss. And this is all I wanted to talk about. Thank you for watching. Take care.